why I quit my job as a doctor in Canada. It seems kind of strange, it seems kind of weird, maybe even kind of crazy. Why did I go through all those years of post-secondary education? 12 years of schooling, 4 years of medical school, 4 years of undergrad, 2 years of my master's, 2 years of residency. Why did I rack up all that debt only to work a little bit and then quit my job, come to Taiwan, not have an income at all, and study Mandarin Chinese? A lot of my friends and family actually ask similar questions, and I get it, it's totally reasonable to ask these questions. But to me, it really came down to what was important to me, what my values were. And for me, money is really a means to an end. It's not the end goal. And so I treat my job as a doctor like anyone would treat most jobs, as a way to provide income, as a way to make money so that it can fund my other interests, my passions. For me, medicine, being a doctor, was never really something that was the center of my universe, the center of my world, like it is for some of my colleagues. And I totally respect that. I'm not knocking medicine. A lot of my friends and colleagues, that's what they're really excited about. That's the main thing in their life. But for me, it took me a while to realize that medicine was just a part of my life. It's not the center of everything. I have other passions like traveling, learning languages, learning Mandarin Chinese, painting, playing guitar. All of these things I'm very interested in and I want to explore. And so if I only focused on medicine, if I only focused on my work, then I wouldn't have much time to explore and give really a lot of time and effort into all these other interests. And this doesn't mean that I don't enjoy being a doctor. In fact, I very much enjoy it. I very much enjoy the fact that I'm able to feel like I can give back and help patients. And that's a very gratifying and fulfilling feeling. It's just that it's not the only thing that I'm passionate about. And on top of that, I knew when I made this decision that I would be going back to Canada to practice medicine again. So in my mind, it wasn't like an irreversible decision. It wasn't something that was permanent. And that was very helpful in terms of easing that tension and making this decision much lower risk. The other thing that really inspired me to make this move to travel to Taiwan was really my fascination and my love for travel. And this was something that I didn't really do a lot when I was younger, but I was exposed to later in life. But once I went on my first backpacking trip, I was really hooked. I caught the travel bug, and every chance that I could get, when I was in medical school, when I was in residency, during Christmas break, during winter break, summer break, spring break, any chance I could, 1 week, 2 week, I'd be traveling, to Japan, to India, to Nepal. And I loved travel just because of how it was such a great way for me to discover and to learn about myself, but also to learn about the world and to meet all these interesting people and wake up, that magical feeling of waking up in a foreign land. And of course there were romances, travel romances. And of course, part of it was also escaping, the reality back home. There was a bit of escapism, but that was all part of the process. It was all part of the journey, because everything that travel taught me, it made me more centered. It made me more whole. And so when I came back to Canada, when I went back home after my travels, I always felt more alive and more ready to live more fully back at home. The other thing that I love about travel is just the way that it pushes my comfort zone, especially the first couple times that I went solo backpacking, being in a new country, in a foreign country, not knowing anyone, not knowing the language. It was definitely scary. And even to this day, whenever I travel to a new place, I'm sure that the first couple of days, I'm going to feel a little bit anxious, a little bit scared, a little bit lonely. But I know the difference is that I know that this is going to pass after a couple of days, and this is going to turn into excitement as I ease into the country, as I immerse myself into the culture, I meet more people, I build more relationships. And this is what I love about travel. It's also why I'm trying to make these YouTube videos and post them online. This is totally uncomfortable for me. I'm not a good speaker, especially in front of a camera. This is not something that I would normally do, but I'm trying to push the envelope. I'm trying to push that boundary, and hopefully in the process figure out, something about myself, learn more about myself, and grow in the process. And then the other thing that really motivated me to go on this trip was just my interest and my fascination in languages that I had been slowly developing over the years, partly due to travel, and in particular was my interest in learning Mandarin Chinese and Cantonese. This fascination was really triggered by my first trip to mainland China, visiting family, and also to Hong Kong, and just feeling that culture shock, but at the same time feeling that weird sense of homecoming that a lot of ABCs describe when they first visit China or their parents' home country. And so, just hearing the languages, the Mandarin that I didn't understand at all at first, hearing the Cantonese, which I had learned a little bit and I spoke very poorly, back at home with my parents, seeing the foods, the culture, the Chinese character, I was just fascinated and I wanted to learn more about this language and my background and my parents' background. And part of it was probably the nostalgia and bringing me back to, those childhood memories. But also consciously, I remember that I wanted to really improve my Cantonese and learn Mandarin Chinese so that I could communicate better with my parents and also communicate better with my relatives in China. So this was on my mind and I was trying to figure out how I could do this. And when I came up with the idea that I could come to Taiwan and study Mandarin Chinese, I was down, I was ready. The idea of moving to a foreign country, living there for 6 to 12 months, slow travel, immersing myself, meeting the locals and learning the language and the culture was something that I really wanted to do, and it was a dream of mine and something that I thought about a lot for a long time while I was in medical school, while I was in residency. And so this whole time I was planning how I could do it, how I could pay off my loans as quickly as possible and also save up some money so that I could really realize this ideal lifestyle that I wanted to try out. So to be honest, quitting my job, moving to Taiwan and learning Mandarin Chinese, it was a pretty easy decision for me when I made it because it had been brewing in my mind for so long. It wasn't something that was a rash decision. It wasn't something that I made in the spur of the moment. This was something that was years in the making. I was, thinking about it a lot, planning it, saving money, researching on how to move to Taiwan, the expenses and everything. And it could have been a huge mistake. I could have came to Taiwan and realized that I didn't like it here or I didn't like learning Mandarin Chinese and it wasn't for me. At which point, that's fine. I could have went back to Canada, became a doctor again and worked. The important thing is that I had that urge, I had that calling and I really wanted to see it through. I really wanted to see if I could really learn Mandarin Chinese. I really wanted to see how it was to live in a different country for a long and extended period of time. This is something that I've been excited about for a long time. So, if you feel like you're in a similar position, if you feel like you have something that you're really passionate about, or you feel like you have a calling to something, or you feel an urge to do something, whether it's learning Mandarin Chinese, maybe you're like me, you're an ABC and you want to learn more about your background or your parents' language, or maybe it's just you want to travel somewhere, or maybe it's something completely different. But I think if you have that urge, that calling that you want to do something and it's inside of you and it's calling to you, I think it's worth it to give it a try. What's the worst that can happen? If you don't like it, you can always go back, right? You don't have to make some drastic decision like quitting your job right away. Even with me, this is something that I'd been thinking about for a long time and I'd been meticulously planning and, saving money and figuring out how to make the move. And I made the decision as low risk as possible. Anyways, I don't know if this is helpful for you guys. This is not my usual type of content. It's a little bit more casual. I'm sort of just riffing. Usually I have a script and it's a little bit more structured and I have, like 10 tips or 10 hacks for learning Chinese. Let me know if you like this style. Let me know if you want to see more of this in the future. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time. Peace.